Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to do my miscarriage story. I lightly touched on it in a Q&A and I got a lot of questions, concerns, just requests for me to talk about my story and what happened to me and how I felt and what I went through during that time. Now, I just want to put a little disclaimer out here. I know that this can trigger a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. And so if you are not 18 years or older, or if these kind of things trigger you or just put you in a very bad way, or this is not something that you can handle, because there are going to be a lot of adult personal things being talked about in this video, please do not watch this. This will not be a video for you. Also, this is something that is pretty hard for me to talk about. This is something new that I haven't really ever opened myself up like this on my channel, and I feel a little bit exposed. So if I am a little bit awkward in this video, I'm sorry. This is just not something that I really thought I would ever bring on my beauty channel, but I talked about it with people on my Facebook group, Beauty and Beyond, and they said that it sounded like a great thing to talk about, that it could help someone. And if this video could help even one person that has gone through this or is going through this, then I'll do it. I will definitely do it, because that is what my channel's for. I just want to help people. So let's just get into this and see how it goes. So first off, with me, I have a tilted uterus, and I have other issues with abnormal cells on my cervix and such, and it really makes it very hard for me to carry past the first trimester. So miscarriages happen quite frequently with me, but this particular miscarriage that I had was very, very bad and very hard for me with the things that I had to do and the things that I went through while it was happening. So me and my husband, we were not married at the time. This pregnancy was a complete surprise. I'm allergic to latex, so we weren't using condoms. We were using a certain synthetic kind, and this particular time we decided not to. We had run out of them. We only had the latex ones, and those are really, really bad. Like, if I have sex with a latex condom, I end up in the hospital. Let's just say that. And it's not good for my who. Not good. So yes, we had unprotected sex, and I got pregnant. And I found out that I was pregnant about 10 weeks into the pregnancy. And even though that it was a surprise and everything, me and my husband, we were engaged. We knew that we were getting married. So we were like, you know what? If it happens, it happened, you know, like, we're just going to deal with it. I don't personally believe in abortion, unless it's like a medical reason, you know, or the baby will have something where it will just be completely tortured its whole life. I don't believe in abortion, and that's just my opinion. I have a lot of friends who have gotten abortions, family members who have abortions. I don't judge on it. It's just my personal opinion and how I feel about it. So we chose to keep the baby, and we were actually really, really excited about it, just because I don't get pregnant easily because of my tilted uterus. It's very, very hard for me to get pregnant. So we were like, yes, you know, like, this is a sign, this is fate, this is destiny, what have you. So we decided to keep the baby, and we were very, very excited about it. We had long conversations at night, you know, like, thinking, oh, if it's a boy, we should name it this. If it's a girl, we should name it this. And we were just beside ourselves, you know, we were getting very, very excited about it. So one night we were up in bed, and I didn't feel right. I kept feeling this sharp pinching feeling, you know, up there. And I thought that maybe, because I've had a child before, I had my daughter, I thought maybe it was just, you know, my uterine wall, like, expanding, you know, or my hips expanding, you know, the whole jazz of the weird, awkward feelings and pains you get when you're pregnant for the first time, or, you know, you're pregnant in the beginning of your pregnancy. Things can, you know, and so I just thought it was that. So I went downstairs to go to the bathroom, and I noticed that I was bleeding really, really badly. It wasn't spotting. When you first get pregnant, you can spot sometimes. You know, people still even get their periods during their pregnancies. That, however, does not happen to me. So I was a little bit worried, and I called my mom, and she was very far away from me. So it actually took her a long time to get to me, because at the time, me and my husband did not have a vehicle. It was getting fixed. So it took her a very, very long time, and I was sitting on my bed, and the bleeding did not stop. It just kept coming and kept coming, and I was getting really, really scared. I have had 2 miscarriages prior to that, and they were early enough on to where this didn't happen, and it was kind of just like a regular period, and the doctors kept an eye on it, told me to keep an eye on it, and it kind of just went from there. You know, I never had to have a D&C. I never had to have any of that happen. So this was nude, and I was scared, and I mean, it was deep red blood, and it just kept coming and coming, and I had a pad on. It was overflowing that, and I had to sit on a towel, and I really thought that I was going to die. Like, I thought that I was bleeding to death and I was going to die. So when my mom finally got there, we rushed right to the ER, and I don't care for my ER in my town. They're not the greatest, but I didn't have to sit there for long. Once I told them what was happening and how bad I was bleeding, they got me right into the ER, and they got me right into a sonogram room, and they did an internal sonogram on me, which is a stick that they stick up inside of you so they can see better, I guess. And because I was so early on, it was easier for them to see the fetus that way and to hear its heartbeat versus an external sonogram. So what they did is they didn't allow anyone in the room with me for the internal sonogram, and I was terrified. I had my mom, I had her boyfriend, and I had my husband with me, and they wouldn't let anyone in the room. So I was alone. The room was dark, and they did the internal exam with the wand, and they told me that I was having a miscarriage. And the person was very irritated for some reason. It was late at night, so maybe they were at the end of their shift or just hated their job. But she was very irritated and rude and blunt, you know, like very insensitive to what was going on. And I, of course, was very upset because they kind of just threw it at me like, oh, you know, your baby's dying. You're having a miscarriage. So I was like, okay. And the girl got up. I still had the sonogram wand inside me, mind you. And she got up and she tilted it back, and I could hear the baby's heartbeat. And it was going really, really fast. And then it started to slow down. And she said, do you hear that? And I said, yes, I hear that. And she said that that's your baby's heartbeat. It's getting slower because it's dying. And I just looked at her and I was like, okay. You know, like, I was upset. I was crying. It was obvious that I was upset and crying. Obvious that, you know, this baby meant something and that I was really upset about it. And she literally got up and walked out of the room and left that wand inside me. So I had to lay there and listen to it die. Oh, God. That was very, very hard for me to listen to that. And then they brought me into an ER room, and they wanted to do a catheter on me because they needed a clean urine sample from me, and I was bleeding so bad. Hold on, I need to find my tissues. They needed a clean urine sample from me to test, and they couldn't get the catheter in. I was really, really swollen from the miscarriage and what was going on, and they had a whole bunch of people come in and kept trying, and I told them, look, let me just pee, you know, I'll do a clean catch, just let me pee. I was mortified already from what had previously happened, and I was really upset and pissed off, and they kept bringing in nurses, 3 in fact, and the last one that came in, I had my mom next to me, and the last one that came in left the ER doors wide open. Now, the ER doors in my ER are glass, and they close shut, and then they have a curtain that closes shut. They kept the glass doors shut, but left the curtain open. So literally everyone in the ER could see me. And I was naked from the waist down. And they were yelling at me. They were yelling at me so bad because they were irritated they couldn't get this catheter in. Of course, I was clenching up because I'd never had a catheter before at that point. I was terrified. I was swollen. It hurt. And the one nurse, the one that left that ultrasound stick in me, says, "You need to act like a dead frog, like a limp frog. Just let your legs be like a limp frog." And she was screaming it so loud because she was so irritated at me because she couldn't get this catheter in that everyone in the ER could hear her and turned around and looked into the room. And of course, I'm spread eagle, you know, and it was completely illegal. Completely breaching my privacy. I started screaming. My mother almost decked this nurse. When my mom turned around and came from the bathroom and noticed that the doors were wide open because she heard this woman screaming, she almost hit this nurse. She got right up in her face, nose to nose. She was screaming at her. They closed the blind things, but they still couldn't get the catheter in. So I think they finally just kind of gave up on me. They said, a nurse came in, she said, "Your baby is dying. It's not dead yet. It is dying. There's something wrong with it, as to where it can't be alive. It can't sustain its life. That it wouldn't have. It wasn't anything to do with my body. It wasn't anything to do with anything. It was just one of those natural miscarriages where something didn't come together right and the baby just couldn't live." So I was like, okay, well, that made me feel a little bit better that, you know, it wasn't something that I did that caused it, you know, or it wasn't my body, that it's just so messed up that I killed my child for my body. I mean, obviously it wasn't my fault, but, you know, it feels a little bit better when you know that it wasn't your body that did that. You know, it was something to do with it coming together and it just didn't form right. So after that, they had me stay there for about 4 or 5 hours because they were either going to let it come out on its own once the baby passed, or they were going to do a D&C. And I was so terrified about a D&C because it's already so hard for me to get pregnant, and those can leave like tissue scarring and stuff, and they hurt, and I didn't want that. And if you get one where like right before you have to get one, they like stick some kind of stick thing up inside of you to keep you dilated, and then, I mean, it's very, very painful. So I didn't want to do that. So they said that it was early enough on to where the fetus would come out on its own, and if it didn't, then, you know, I could come back. But they sent me home. They gave me 2 pills, and I guess these pills are used in very early abortions. You take them and it forces you to dilate, and it pushes the baby through, or the egg through, I should say. I was far enough along to where the baby wasn't an egg anymore. It was just starting to become something. And I went home. I took the pills. I went home. I was there for about 3 hours, and I felt something in there. So I went to the bathroom, and I heard it drop into the toilet. And I just froze, and I wouldn't get off the toilet, and I told my husband to call them, you know, and what do I do? And so we called them, and they said, well, you have to get it out of the toilet. We need it to test it. So we had to take a kitchen spoon and fish it out of the toilet and put it in a container. And the worst thing for me with this was that it wasn't just like a mass. It didn't look like a clot. It didn't look like, you know, an egg. It didn't look like anything. It looked like a little half-formed human, you know? Like, it looked like it was starting to be somebody. And since I'm a mother before this, it broke my heart. You know, like, it broke my heart, and my husband hadn't had a child yet, so I immediately, like, looked up at him, and he was heartbroken, and it traumatized me because I felt so bad, you know, that I couldn't maintain that baby for him, you know, and a million things were going through my mind, but I was traumatized at the fact that I just had to scoop my dead baby out of a toilet, you know, like, it was very traumatizing. But we came to find out that there was something wrong with the baby. It was missing a chromosome, and if it had been born, it would have been it wouldn't have lived long, and it would have known nothing but pain. And so, you know, I was relieved, you know, to know that that had happened, but I was so traumatized. I was so traumatized from all of this, you guys. Just the fact that how they made me listen to the baby's heartbeat, you know, like they made me listen to it until it was almost non-existent alone. They wouldn't let my family come in. And then they breached my privacy. And I mean, literally everyone in that ER saw all my shiz, you know, like they saw everything. And then, you know, after that, I figured that, you know, the baby would come out, but like not in the toilet, you know, so I ended up having to do that. And then the look on my husband's face, it was just heartbreaking. So it took us a long time to even really talk about it, and we had an issue with one of his family members, you know, saying that it was probably for the best, you know, and they weren't talking about because the baby had something wrong with it. They were just talking about, you know, pretty much they were glad that the baby died. And I was going through that on top of everything else that had gone, you know, had happened with this, and it was just a very traumatizing time for me, and it's something that I won't forget. It's something that I can talk about now, you know, but we still talk about it, you know, like, oh, you know, he or she would be this old, you know, and we wonder, you know, what was it, a he or she, you know, like, we still have conversations like that. And, but now we're at the point where we really think that it was just, you know, destiny, because if we had had that child, we wouldn't have had my son that we have now, and he's amazing, you know, he's so cute and he's so smart. So it all happens for a reason, and there's always time, you know, to have more, let yourself heal and come back at it when you're ready and try again, which we did. And it took us a really long time, and I was scared. I was terrified. I was a CNA when I got pregnant with my son, and I immediately quit. I quit that job faster than shit because it's dangerous doing that job, especially when you're pregnant. And knowing when I went through the last time, I put myself in a bubble for the first trimester, and everything was good. They told me that my son was going to have Down syndrome, which we were fine with that. I don't mind that. It's not something you expect when you get pregnant, but I'm okay with that. You know, we were okay with that, and we were expecting that. And then it turned out to where it wasn't Down syndrome. He was going to have heart issues. And so we were really scared, you know, what we were going to see when he was born, and, you know, what issues he would have. And he came out perfect. Like, perfect. So, you know, in the end, like, something very traumatizing like this, something good did come out of it. It was very hard. This was very hard for me to go through. Hard for me to think about. You know, when you're a mother and that happens to you, and you were really looking forward to that pregnancy and that baby, you put all the blame on yourself. You know, you put every ounce of that blame on yourself. Well, I did this, or I did this, or I did this before I was pregnant and I shouldn't have, or, you know, like, I ate this and it could have done it, or, you know, my body just isn't good enough, you know, my womb couldn't protect the baby. You know, you play it over and over in your mind, just like a cycle, like a never-ending cycle of how it is all your fault. And it's not. It's really not. It happens naturally all the time. It happens to so many people, and what you go through with those miscarriages is so unique, because miscarriages are so unique. They're all caused from different reasons, you know, they all happen for different reasons. There's different causes, and you can't blame yourself. You really just can't blame yourself. I like to think about it every now and then and remind myself that it wasn't my fault, and there was nothing that I could do, and that even though that was a very sad and hard time for me, you know, in the end, it did allow me to have my son. You know, it allowed me to meet Kingston, and I could not imagine not knowing him. Oh, fuck. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate crying. So that is my miscarriage story and what I went through, and I'm sorry for all the blubbering. It's very hard to talk about. If you guys have any questions that you want to know about it that I didn't talk about, feel free to ask me down below. I'm very open about this kind of stuff. I'm not a very shy person. So if you have any questions and you're just afraid to ask because you think that it's too personal, don't be. And you can always private message me or email me. I always write people back. So feel free to do that if you want to know anything else, or if you have your own story that, you know, you want to tell or you need someone to talk to. I'm always here. I know that a lot of people think that YouTubers are very impersonal and don't write back to their subscribers, you know, and just, I don't know, we're put up on this pedestal that we shouldn't be, but I am a human being. I am a human, and I am real, and I'm genuine. So I do write people back, and I will talk to you, and I will support you, and I will help you as much as I can with what I've been through with this. So if you want to talk or have any questions or concerns, just leave me a comment. I usually say I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but I don't think that it's really a video that should be enjoyed. So I hope that this helped someone out there somewhere, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.